Hey, how's it going? So, uh, if you've been watching, then you know that I recently put 40 millimeter Mikuni carbs on my 99 ZRX. Got them on there. It was a riot, to put it mildly, but didn't get it to run great. I didn't have the right jets for my application, so I've got two new sets of jets. And I also wanted to address the issue that I was having with the spring that drives the accelerator pump. So I've got two new springs in case I damage one. I also got a new accelerator pump rod because the helpful people at Sudoku told me that people sometimes cut them. I don't think mine's been cut, but I've got a spare one. All the parts were super cheap anyway. So yeah, so what I'm going to try to do this time is actually film a video where you get to see the stuff happen. Maybe fast forward that part, put some music behind it like more mature YouTubers do. So that will be a step up for me. The challenge with making videos is that making videos is actually, and sometimes harder than working on the bike. So this should be a fairly straightforward disassembly, reassembly sort of deal. So hopefully I can concentrate a little more on the camera work, and the assembly part will be easy. And then I will swap the carbs again and see if we get a better result than we did last time. All right, these covers come off. They're 2.5 millimeter Allens. Always kind of take an issue with small fasteners. Always feel like I'm going to break them. I don't very often break fasteners, but if you're paying attention, you can feel the tool flex in your hand, and that's, I don't really love that feeling. Like you can feel a tool that's this long twist over its length, lined up like a spring, and these T-wrenches like this usually have one end, the short end, which is the high torque end, which is straight. The other end is the ball end, which gives you the ability to come into the fastener at not quite a straight angle and still get work done. But it's thinner there. In order to make the ball, you have to cut into the shaft. So the cross-sectional area is smaller and the tool's easier to snap off. So, not to mention the length works to your disadvantage. So that's why these have two sides. This is the torqueier side, and this is for ease of use. All right, so covers off. See that Phillips head screw there? It's not a Phillips head screw. It's a Japanese industrial standard screwdriver. These are my JIS screwdrivers, size 1, 2, and 3. That's a 2, that fits pretty well. The 3 won't go in there. So this is a JIS 2 screw. It fits and it turns just like any other screw would. If you use the wrong screwdriver here, if you use a Phillips head screwdriver, like most people do with Japanese sport bikes, you will gall up these screws and you will regret it, I promise you. These are soft, they're brass. Actually, they're not brass because they stick to the magnet, but they're soft. and because I'm trying to work upside down and backwards and show you what's up, there are these cups that go in there. Notice that the cup is basically it's like a nut, but that hole in there is not centered. It's off to one side, and that's intentional. And that's how you sync the carbs on these Mikunis. I'll probably show you how to do that later. All right, so this rod here attaches to this shaft, which attaches to this wheel, which is pulled by the throttle cable. And if these screws were still in, you would see the slides go up and down. But since I have removed them, they're not attached. I don't think I have to take the whole rack apart to do what I need to do here. I think I can just take the two left carbs off. And I've got company. All right, now I'm going to try to show you how to sync these. This is the book, all right? This is from Mikuni and available through Sudco, right? You can get sudco.com or look them up online. The instructions for tuning these are in there, for syncing them are in there. So I've just swapped in new bigger jets, and you can see that this little tiny gap, and it's tough to see, but I'm trying to do the best I can to make this visible for you. This gap here underneath the edge of that, I call it the guillotine, but it's the slide. See how the gap is slightly different in size? That one's kind of big, that one's itty bitty. And then these two are what I would call medium. So they need to be the same size. And that's how you sync these. You do it mechanically. I know if you're used to regular CV carbs or other diaphragm type carbs, you've done it in the past with the vacuum gauges. Yes, I have that tool. It says specifically in the book from Mikuni not to do it that way, okay? The reason why is in order to adjust these, the way that you sync them is by turning these screws and loosening those screws, which are basically set screws, and adjusting the position of this nut. That nut is off-centered. You can see that there. See how the screw doesn't sit in the middle of that? So it's a bowl. And if you turn the nut, it adjusts the height that this slide ends up being in the throat. You can turn this, which is the idle set screw. You can turn it with your hands, but when you turn that, it will pull the gates open. You see how the slides are coming up? So what I like to do is you try to set. Oh, and one of the carbs, this one in my case, doesn't have one of those nuts on it. See, the others have the nut bowl, thimble thing there. This one doesn't. So that's going to be my default slide. So I'm going to adjust the others to match that one. Get them really, really, really close. You want them to be perfectly identical because that is your synchronization. If I put this on the bike the way it is now, it would start and run but it would be out of sync. And what that often looks like is when you rev the bike up and you let go of the throttle, it takes a while to drop back down to idle, or it'll search or seek, or it won't idle low consistently. And that's because you're getting different amounts of air in through the different cylinders. So I need to get those really close. I'm gonna maybe adjust until I'm gonna adjust the throttle until I can just barely fit this safety pin underneath that gap. And then I'm gonna adjust the others to match as best I can. And then I can adjust the idle setting, will adjust all of them together. So that should work out for me. And I'm gonna try to do it with the camera sitting here so you can see what I'm doing. But at this point, not sure how well the filming is gonna work out, but I'm pretty optimistic about the tuning. And we'll see how it goes. All right. Let's see if that's visible. Okay, so I'm trying to hold this and see those rise and fall together. And those gaps are very, very close to being the same size in each hole. I know that one on the right looks a little big, but I think it's the light. Might be a little taller. Maybe I'll lower that one on the right. But that's how you go about it. All right, see the difference in those two springs. The one on the left is new. So they're clocked together, meaning the part on the bottom, which clips to the housing of the carb, they're in the same orientation. The top on the on the top that sticks up is several degrees different, 90 or 110 degrees different. And that means that the spring pushes the accelerator pump 90 or 110 degrees further rotationally. And that's what you needed. So I have a new spring here. And notice how we've got clearance there between a little white plastic thing and that rod. But when we actuate the throttle, it comes down in contacts. And we're seeing it all the way up. That spring is strong as hell. But it does push down like it should. Sorry, that's difficult for me to show you, but see that? Oof. So that's the intended function. So that is in, the carbs are synced. So I'm gonna put them back on the bike and see if it runs better. So the bowls are filling up. Should be able to start now.